yesterday someone asked me, so what kind of, was not someone from this group, but this person asked me, so what kind of meditation are you guys doing? What are you teaching? What are you practicing? And I was like, well, we're not really from a lineage. We use a lot the Yoga Sutras, but I wouldn't even want to say that we are Yoga Sutras followers. We also follow a lot of Buddhist principles. And then this person said like, oh yeah, so you're a Buddhist, you're a Theravada practitioner. I was like, no, we're also not Buddhists. Because, you know, I think the Yoga Sutras is less clear, but with especially the Buddhist teaching, it's much clearer that the Buddha wasn't creating Buddhism. He knew he was creating a lineage, that he set the whole system up so that it would survive as a lineage. But the teaching that the Buddha gave is known as Dhamma, and Dhamma can also be translated as nature. So what the Buddha discovered, which is very similar to what Patanjali discovered. Patanjali is the writer of the Yoga Sutras. What they both discovered wasn't like an invention of a new religion. They discovered how the mind worked, how suffering works, what kind of causes lead to what kind of effects. It's almost like it's literally a bit like a science. That's similar to the first person that discovered gravity, that mass attracts things to it. We can see these teachings very similar. If you do this, we don't call it right or wrong, but the effect will be that your mind goes in this direction and this direction, and then when you sit down, your mind is disturbed. So it's a lot about tracing back causes, what we do here. So we're not really practicing yoga, we're not really practicing Buddhism, but we are practicing the ways of how consciousness works, how nature works. And we are mainly here going to learn about the nature of our own mind, using the scripture as the guideline. So, the Yoga Sutras is really helpful for our meditation practice. It's a book of 4 chapters, all with short sentences in them. And you know, there's a lot of subtlety and nuance, but the summary comes down to the 8 limbs of yoga, like a body out of which 8 limbs reach. So these limbs end with sense withdrawal, what we're doing here. We are closing our eyes, simply. We are not trying to meditate while music blasts in our ears, or the radio is on, or while we are looking at an artwork. We are meditating with our eyes closed. So that's sense withdrawal. Then he describes the process of dharana, which you can kind of translate as concentration practice. And this is really where some effort is required. So what we will all be doing quite a bit in the silent sittings. Because we find that if we try to focus our mind on the breath, that our mind doesn't stay there. Sometimes just 3 seconds, and then we're thinking again for a minute. And again we remember the breath for 5 seconds, and again we are gone for another minute or 5 minutes even. So dharana is a stage where we try to focus, and we have to bring the mind back. And actually what's good to know about this is that you are using your mind to bring your mind back. You are noticing with thoughts, when you try to focus on your breath, that your attention got lost. And you are literally can have an inner dialogue. Oh, I'm again lost. I'm again thinking. Let's bring my mind back to the breath. This inner dialogue is actually part of that. When concentration training becomes more stabilized, we call it dhyana. Dhyana simply means sustained concentration. And sometimes people understand this as a laser beam, but a better way to understand it is as not in a beam per se, but just sustained. There's constantly a little bit of awareness of the breath. And you can kind of see that as your pillar. Even right now when I speak, you can maybe feel some sensation of breath flowing in and out of your nose. And this is a center. It's also quite central in your body. But this is a center around which other things can move. But this holds you in one place. So when you practice meditation, your thoughts won't stop. That's very important to understand. Your thoughts will continue all the time. All the time. But you can practice to, at the same time, keep some part of you, as much as possible, on the breath. Without too much effort, but also without becoming lazy about it. When you exert too much effort, you will get literally a headache. You will look like this. And you see a lot of people meditating like this. At all costs, trying to hold their mind on the breath. And actually, sometimes this kind of intensity might actually help to indeed have your mind on the breath, but it's very unsustainable because you're going to get a headache and you're going to make yourself very, very tired. So, but if you don't do anything at all, you will just spend hours and hours sitting and thinking. So that's both not how meditation works. It's a light effort, and maybe even within it's a balance between really caring about your meditation, being determined that you want to meditate, and at the same time not taking yourself too serious doing it. Just seeing how far you get with it, really. And in later stages, and you might even find, if you had a concentrated practice, that you can release your attention on an object. So in meditation we call concentration objects, concentration elements objects. So your breath can be an object, a mantra can be an object, the body can be an object. You find if you take this concentration deeper that you might even be able to let go of the object. And where are you then? It's like you can see directly back at the consciousness that is inside of you. And it's not to be understood as that you're going to be entering a void at some point. You might have an incredibly empty mind. You might have an experience of voidness. There might be just a kind of silence and blackness behind your eyes, and maybe the body is going more faintly into the background and there's no more thoughts. And that's indeed a very void place. But it's not about entering the void and never coming back. It's actually also when you are with your eyes open at some point, you might even find that there can be voidness. There's just an empty mind and there's a lake-like, sky-like quality. And you don't need to focus on something so much for you to stay there. That's the longer term goal. So I've started with the last 4 limbs. To summarize them one more time. Pratyahara, sense withdrawal. Both closing the eyes, finding a silent room, as well as not consuming media between meditations or talking. Pratyahara, sense withdrawal. Dharana, the practice of concentration, bringing it back again and again, again and again and again and again. Dhyana, where the concentration becomes stable. And samadhi, which is, it doesn't make so much sense to explain that too much, but I just did it a little bit. It's also good to understand that you might have phases in your meditation where you have dhyana, sustained focus, for 5 minutes, and you lose it again. So sustained focus doesn't mean you have an hour of dhyana. 5 minutes is dhyana. I mean, time is very relative anyways. You could even say that 5 seconds is kind of dhyana. If you have 5 seconds stable focus, it's 5 seconds of stable focus. If you have half a second of stable focus, but that won't do so much anymore. But yeah, so there are no rigid rules here. What the Yoga Sutras describe, and it's very similar to Buddhism, and it's also very similar to other Eastern traditions like Taoism or Vedanta. Or if you dissect the ideas of the famous scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, let me stay here with the Yoga Sutras and with Buddhism. What you find that the Yoga Sutra starts with is morals and ethics. It's the first 2 limbs, straight away what it starts with. And these morals and ethics, there are 10 in the Yoga Sutras. Later Hatha Yoga has more. And they are contentment, non-hoarding, so not being greedy and gathering things around you, not stealing, not lying, trusting in life. So these are kind of ways to cultivate positive mind states opposed to negative mind states. Lack of contentment or complaint, taking what is not yours, contemplating to take something that is not yours, contemplating lies, untruthful living. And it's good to understand that these are super important, but they are not imposed on you like moral laws by some kind of God beyond you. They are to be understood that if your goal, keeping a goal in mind of having the mind clean, if your goal is to have the mind be clean, you cannot do things that go against love and harmony, basically. You cannot do things that treat this universe as if you have to fight against it. Someone that steals doesn't trust in a God. They think they have to steal to be taken care of, for example. But also, if you have lied about something, or if some part of your life is not so truthful, there is something that creates disturbances in your mind, and it haunts you. And we all have something that haunts us on some level. And the thing is, when you sit down in meditation is the moment you become confronted with them. It's not like meditation does something new. No, it's like showing you what's already constantly a little bit under the surface. So meditation can really show you what to change in your life, where to become more in integrity with something, more in alignment with something, more trusting with something, more content with what you already have. And this is really, really important to understand. And that's a lifelong practice. The yamas and niyamas, these moral ways, are sometimes taught. They're very often taught, like listed, briefly discussed, and then, okay, but now let's move on to the interesting stuff. Where's the esoteric meditation teaching? And it's really sad, because I think the yamas and niyamas should really fascinate us. How to live a virtuous, noble life. That will make you feel really good too. It will make others feel really good, but it will make you feel really good as well. To be generous makes you high. You can be selfishly generous and you will feel amazing. Take it as a drug. So, and then the Yoga Sutras, the third and the fourth limb, are simply our posture. It should be steady and comfortable, it is said. And our breath should be regulated, should be gentle, soft. Because also a disturbed breath creates a disturbed mind. Think of someone that is just frightened by something. They're hyperventilating. And they will stay scared if they keep breathing like that. But if you slow the breath down, you slow the mind down and you can meditate. And your posture, it's very important that you find a comfortable posture. Take pillows, take props, take bolsters. Move your seat every now and then. Make sure you sit comfortable, that your spine is straight. Also this I should say with a side note, not like a soldier, because it can again feel very tensed. It's with a straight spine, if you do it in a comfortable, steady way, it lifts your energy really up. And you will begin to appreciate that more and more the more you meditate. Sometimes just sitting with a straight spine will, without even trying to do anything with your mind, will feel quite blissful if you meditate for a longer period of time. You can feel energized from that. So that's a brief overview of the Yoga Sutras. So when you will be by yourself today in your own practices, you are going to, unless you have perfect samadhi, which would be probably for most of us not the case, we need an object to focus on. And the most common object is the breath. I mean, makes sense. No? It's with us 24/7. You can feel it, and it's also connected to your nervous system. So the breath makes a lot of sense as an object. It's not the magical key to enlightenment or something. Your breath is just a very useful tool for meditation. And to follow your breath can sometimes be not immediately clear what it means, but to follow your breath is to simply follow its sensations. If you ever go to a Vipassana retreat with Goenka, you will hear his description being quite accurate. Follow the breath being hot or cold inside your nostrils and at the upper lip. Which, by the way, I never understood. I cannot feel my breath at my upper lip. He kept saying that, but I don't feel the breath at my upper lip. Maybe you guys do. No, I don't know how he does that. But in the nostrils, yes, we can all feel our breath in our nostrils. So that's hot or cold or warm. You can feel the sensations of warm and cold. It also has a quality of humidity and dryness. And there's simply, you can feel that there's a wind going through your nose. You can feel that something's touching inside your nose. The sensation of wind, basically, on the skin, but then inside your nose. Movement. And so you can hold these sensations as your meditation object. Which you, by the way, can also do outside of sessions. You can also sit after breakfast and do that, even with your eyes open. So, another place where you can follow the breath, and This for some people can really work. I find personally less easy to feel like a sustained focus on, but it can be to follow the breath all the way down into your belly, into your navel. Letting your navel rise and fall, there's a sensation there. What I usually find, if I bring it there, and you might find that too, is that then you begin to feel a much larger part of your body. It's like you almost become aware from the breath between the throat and the bottom of the lungs as you do that. Which almost becomes a body meditation at that point. Which is fine if it works for you as an object. As you become familiar with a meditation object, it can help to stay with one of the two for some time. But also I want to invite room for exploration. You can switch between the two objects. You can switch between the navel and the nose. You can focus on one for 3 minutes and then the other for 5 minutes, and then, it's fine. Both are sustaining your concentration. But sometimes it can help to, in beginning stages, to take one and go all the way deep with it. So I want to invite your exploration with this. Another way of focusing on the breath can be to hear that it makes a little bit of sound. Sound is also a place where you can focus your attention on. You might even be faintly feeling both at the same time, sound and sensation. And it's also good to see that when you focus on anything, you're not excluding the rest of your experience. It's just that where your focus is. But you can also not hide it. And you don't want to hide it. It's like you can welcome that there are sounds around you as well. You can welcome that there are thoughts happening as well. You can welcome that there are sensations all the way down into your feet and your legs. You can welcome that there are colors behind your eyelids, shadows dancing. But you keep that center of attention at the breath, if that is your object. So otherwise, what you can also do is to keep your awareness in the body. And you can make broad strokes of scanning through the body. You can feel the whole body at once. Simply keeping mindfulness of sensations in the body. And if it's parts of your body are numb, if you cannot feel your body so well, it is also beautiful to resensitize the body a little bit. So let's just, as there are more silences between my words now, let's use these silences to begin familiarizing yourself more with the breath or the body. Seeing where it feels natural for you to place your attention.